Pilipino, ang dugo'y mahalika. Likas sa aking puso at hikain kay ganda sa Pilipinas na aking bayan, lantay na perlas ng silanganan, wari na tipo ng kayamanan ng may kapal.
This documentary was purely based on the book Land Scams, Who Are to be Blamed? An in-depth investigative report on the hidden history of the Philippines by Daniel Balmonte Frianesa. All Philippine history books that had ever been written were about people, places, and events. Nothing had been written about the very land geophysical setting upon which all these significant people and events had played their significant roles. This book is the very first. This is the hidden history of the lands of the Philippine Islands, uncovered through the diligent investigative work of Danny Frianesa. This is history recovered, which no one else could ever write so boldly. Only then, the author knows whose eyes were blinded by corruption. But through this documentary, aside from the sad book, the facts will now be imparted, and thus educating us that many people were still unaware, hoodwinked, even their eyes wide open. This research work is important for its political, social, and economic value for the Filipinos. Moreover, it is written in the true spirit of self-sacrifice for a noble ideal. There is virtue in courage, especially in pursuing one's values consistently, even in the face of risk. This investigative report stands as a clarification and also refute Vice President Noli de Castro's baseless allegation that OCT 01-4 is a fake title. This risky misinformation and other remarks expressing doubt and bewilderment, such as these ones for Ripley, it's almost funny and monumental fakery and a bad work of fiction pertaining to OCT 01-4 tends to twist the history, thus corrupts the mind of the reader. At a glance, we can even surmise that these remarks are all black propaganda meant to mislead millions of Filipinos who are aspiring and craving for a piece of land. The land is supposed to be the fulfillment of their dreams so that they could enjoy its resources. Instead, they are being deceived more than half a century by government officials concerned in land titling who annihilate and discredit the genuineness of archival documents which played a major role in our history. The product of dirty tricks were even published as authentic documents to conceal the truth and pave the way for land grabbers and big-time real estate developers to secure land for their selfish interests. Indeed, the government's involvement in the proliferation of fake titles through community mortgage program and the so-called socialized housing project had caused the flooding of fake titles all over the country. At present, there are millions of fake transfer certificates of titles derived from 100,000 fake original certificate of titles being distributed and sold to innocent, helpless victims. Landless farmers are still clamoring for the implementation of the comprehensive agrarian reform program. Millions of squatters are now residing in cramped quarters, usually victims of syndicates, land grabbers, and corrupt government agencies. Indeed, the painful truth hits us squarely in the eye. We Filipinos, including you and our poor kababayans, may unknowingly be a squatter in our own land. Our beloved Philippines is a rich and beautiful country. We are blessed with fertile, arable lands, with flora, fauna, and natural resources as bountiful as that of the world's richest nations. But why are there so many idle lands, yet at the same time, so many homeless Filipinos? Why are lands being held by a select, selfish few? Let us put a stop to this endless cycle of corruption and exploitation. Together, let us wage war against fake land titles, titlers, and land grabbers. Peacefully negotiate, organize, and unite for clean land titles. Expose and oppose the corrupt practices in government agencies concerned with land titling. Educate the people about land titling and ownership. Provide affordable land for the Filipinos and build a squatter-free Philippines. Revelations must be revealed and aptly shared. Let us all share this piece of history with others. By doing so, we empower ourselves with the knowledge of what is true and right. For more than half a century, most Filipinos are not aware of the historical events, how, when, and to whom the monumental title has been granted by the King of Spain. So as not to be led astray, let our history speak for itself. When society goes through a critical phase, one instinctively asks how things happened and why. One of the best ways to provide a satisfactory answer is to look into history, which explains the root of any social situation. In court proceedings, the litigants help the judges dig up the answers that would lead to a wise and unbiased judgment using facts that have been submitted. That is, substantial facts should be presented so as to direct the judges to the sources of knowledge needed for the proper conclusion of the law. Without such, the court can never decide on a true verdict, but would go instead through applying false information and making inappropriate decisions. Likewise, a historian without sources of basic facts can never write history, but only works of fiction. In any aspect, to arrive at a proper conclusion, identifying basic facts is more necessary than mere accumulation of facts. Should there be chronological arrangements needed to identify the intelligible patterns of history, we have to trace how one event leads to another and affirm how one undertaking resulted from another, hence creating in mind a concrete scenario of the past.